Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's good to see you. This is a reading for Scorpio moons, or if you have significant Scorpio placements and are needing a feminine energy to work with or balance within yourself, then this reading is for you. So Scorpio, let's get started with the overall context of your reading. So at the bottom of the deck, we have here the Ace of Wands, the Six of Swords, which to me is talks about like your passion or creativity, right? With the Ace of Wands, and the Six of Swords is always really interesting because this to me represents like the center of creativity with the passion, and this orange color shirt as well. And so with the Six of Swords, with this sort of chess board, it's kind of feeling like strategizing your next move or something like that in terms of moving towards your creativity or something that you're creating or something that you're passionate about, right? So it's kind of looking like you're considering your next step, perhaps, of like what to do next, how to move forward, what the next move would be. I feel like perhaps you're considering a lot of different possibilities here as well, but it's kind of like you're playing against yourself, right? Like that, it's kind of like perhaps like just doing a lot of mental exercises in terms of like, if I do this, what will happen? If I do that, what will the outcome be? That kind of thing. And then you have here this interesting combination of cards, the Wise Fox, which is the Death card, the Six of Wands, and then the Dream Angel, which I believe is the Star. Which I believe is the Star card, but I'm not entirely sure. So the Wise Fox and the Six of Wands, which is always really interesting, is like the Wise Fox, I talk about this one as being like there's an unseen influence that's affecting your decisions or something like that might need to be eliminated or go through transition, right? It's like I see this figure as sort of being entranced by the thing that's no longer, or so this unseen influence when there's other opportunities or better things to look towards or something like that. And so with the Six of Wands, I always see this card as being kind of like identifying the problem, right? Identifying what this unseen influence is that may be holding you up is kind of how this is feeling like. Because I feel like you're perhaps in this sort of like waiting or perhaps there's a little bit of like doubt in terms of your next move, and it's coming from this energy here is how I want to say that. And then with the Dream Angel, I feel like this is talking about releasing that, or there's some sort of like healing or moving towards your dream, whatever that is. And then for the bottom of the deck for these cards, we have here Pluto and Mars, which is really interesting because I've been talking about this so much recently in the last couple of readings. Pluto and Mars both recently shifted, right? So Mars moved into Cancer last week. Pluto moved into Aquarius last week. But these also are both your rulers, Scorpio, right? As a Scorpio, you're ruled by Mars and Pluto, which is really interesting. So it could be that the recent transits, sorry for my dog, the recent transits are shifting your energy, right? They're having an influence because they've both transited. It's having an impact on your ability to move forward or something like that. And I want to say that it's also shifting external energies around you, right? Because it's kind of like, I feel like Scorpio, you are wanting to move forward or move towards or like take the next step or whatever it is. But it's kind of like there's some other energy, whatever that is around you, that's perhaps holding you up a little bit, right? Because it's kind of like with this Mars card, I'm seeing this as being like you holding on to the thing. You have the energy or the momentum or whatever it is to move forward, but it's like there's this other energy that's saying stop or pause or like wait up or whatever. And I feel like there's kind of like a not a conflict necessarily, but it's just an opposition, right? Because these are both your energies. So I feel like I'm not phrasing that correctly. It's these are both your rulers, right? In terms of like Scorpio, the sign. And so it's kind of like there's this energy, the Mars, which is wanting to move forward, but there's the Pluto, and I want to say it's a very external, very perhaps distant in some way, right? Like it's not necessarily yours, but it's somehow having an effect on your movement forward is how this is feeling. Okay, so we're gonna get into what that is if we go into the current energy. So we're starting off here with the Sulfur card. It's so interesting how there always seems to be like one card that makes an appearance through like a chunk of reading. So this card came out in the Cancer reading, I think, as well, which is talking about medicine, right? But so sometimes medicine or like a situation that really like is uncomfortable is kind of how it's coming through. It's a bit different for you than Cancer's message, but it's kind of like for you, there's a situation that feels uncomfortable in some way, but that it's actually going to be exactly what you need in order to move forward. Because the next card here is the Sublimation, which I really love, because it's moving from a solid state, which is perhaps that non-movement, right into gas, because there's a lot of energy being gathered up here, right? Because it's coming through with this energy of a geyser, like a sudden expansion of some sort into the gas phase that will absolutely move some sort of stuck energy, I want to say. And it's coming out here with this. So the Resin card, which is really interesting. The Resin, which also has been coming up so much, but it talks about this energy of holding, right? With sort of the geyser. It's a holding. I feel like there's like a lot of pressure being built in a certain situation, I want to say, where it's like you're about to step into something new, Scorpio, right? You're about to be propelled in some way, but it's like there's an energy that's holding you. And I want to say there was something here as well. There was one line in the book that was really sticking out to me, that was saying something like, so it could be there's a specific bond, and I'll get into like how that plays out in the cards, but the one line that was sticking out to me is that there's someone here, and it could be you, Scorpio, where it's like there's someone here who has very good intentions, right, to perhaps protect something or someone, but in that protection, it actually imposes a limitation on the thing that's being protected, right? So it could be there's somebody who's trying to protect you from something, right, with very good intentions, right? Their intentions are very positive. They want to protect you. They want to keep you safe or whatever that is. But in that protection, it's actually keeping you stuck, right? It's keeping you contained. And keep in mind, Scorpio, that this may be also you're playing this role. The way I'm seeing it, the way I'm going to read it in this reading is that there's somebody else protecting you, but it could be that you are holding on to or protecting some other person or situation that you're not wanting to let go of because whatever, right? And it's actually causing this sort of pressure to be built up is how this is feeling. And I feel like that's going to be released soon, because the next two cards to come out were the Great Serpent, which talks about transmutation, right? A sudden shift from one state into its opposite is what was coming through. And then you have here the Sun after, right? Which is all of this forward movement. Because I kind of feel like, because this is a feminine energy reading, it's talking about like your ability to like receive perhaps or like nurture a situation, because it kind of feels like right now you're very much in the feminine energy in terms of just like waiting, receiving, that kind of thing. But then it's because the Great Serpent's coming out in the middle of your spread, it's talking about like a sudden shift into the masculine energy, which is talking about being able to move forward. Especially with this Aries energy, like this, both of these cards are very masculine. And if you just look at the hand position, right? This is you with all, like, it's like gathering charge or gathering pressure or gathering momentum and holding it almost like a geyser, right? About to sort of step into or elevate or rise above or whatever it is into this next thing with the sun, being able to take a lot of forward action with the hand open, right? A lot of masculine energy in your reading today, because I feel like it's a shift, right? You're shifting from the feminine energy into the masculine is what that's feeling like. Okay, and so if we get into the actual like story, like the specific energy dynamics here, we're starting off here with the Queen of Swords, the Lady of Swords, which I feel like is your energy, Scorpio. It talks about someone who has a lot of intellect, right? A lot of mental clarity, a lot of like, just like knows what to do, is very much connected to their intuition and their guidance, and all of that, is very sharp-witted, I feel like. And especially with that sort of chessboard, right? Like able to strategize, all like see all your options, right? Choosing a lot of perhaps, or like considering a lot of potential outcomes perhaps, or seeing how all of your decisions and choices will play out. But I want to say not necessarily acting on them. And it's not necessarily anything that is negative, right? That's not a negative thing to just sort of consider all your options and before moving forward. And here you have here the Spirit of Wands, which I also think is your energy, because I'm seeing this as almost like, it's feeling a lot like putting your intentions out there, right? Putting your intentions. I kind of see this as sort of being like a temple space of some sort, where it's like every day you go, light a candle, put your intentions out there. And these are all the wishes that you've made, is kind of how that's feeling. All of the positive intentions that you've made, all of this sort of gathering, all of this like potential energy is what this is feeling like. Gathering of potential energy for you to move into the next phase with a lot of forward momentum, right? That's what this card is talking to me about. But also being very sort of like, because it's coming through as a temple space, it's very much connected to your intuition and also like your higher self. It's also a very peaceful state where I feel like it's like, yes, you want to move forward, but you're also not like overdoing it or forcing it or like pushing forward in a way that would be negative or detrimental to you, is what this is feeling like. It's peaceful. It's accepting of where you are and hoping for and looking forward to the future is what this is feeling like. And then you have here the Master of Secrets, which is this other energy, is how I'm feeling this. The Master of Secrets. It's the Magician in this deck, but for some reason it feels more like a Hierophant energy to me. So someone who is a teacher, perhaps. I'm seeing this as being sort of like a mentor of sorts, or it could be a parent for one of you, but it doesn't have to be. It's just somebody who I feel like you are considered somebody that you've learned from, or somebody that has a lot of wisdom, or perhaps you've been like you've been learning from them in this space, is what this is feeling like. Spirit of Wands. And it's kind of like, I feel like on some level, so there's a couple of ways that this might play out for you. It could be that they are representing this resin, right? It's kind of like, because I'm getting kind of this energy of like, they are very protective of you, is what this is feeling like with the Master of Secrets. Because I see this one as being very, very generous and very benevolent, right? They are a Master of Secrets, but they're also willing to share those secrets with you, is what this is feeling like. So very generous, right? Very, very nurturing, very mentoring, right? Like, if that's a word. They have a lot of wisdom to share with you, and you've been learning, and it's kind of like here, I feel like this is where there's a stuckness or a holding, is what that's feeling like. Because the vibe that I was getting for this dynamic is that this one here is trying to prepare you for what's ahead, right? Because they've gone through it, or they whatever it is. I feel it could be that you're on the same path, right? But it's kind of like you're just at an earlier stage of that path. And it's like they're seeing the path that you're on because they've walked that path. And they're saying to you, Scorpio, they're trying to prepare you for it, is what this is feeling like. Trying to prepare you, trying to warn you perhaps, trying to like say, here are all the challenges I faced. This is what you might be facing in your future. So here's how I dealt with it and all of that. The example that was coming through here is kind of like, very trivial, but it's kind of like if you're learning how to ride a bike, right? You want to learn how to ride a bike. And so this one, you go to this one and they give you a whole bunch of manuals, right? Here are all the mechanics of the bike. Here's how a bike works. Here's what you need to do in order to make the bike work and all of that. But then the lessons stop there. It's like the next part, which would be actually getting on the bike, it's like they're reluctant to move you into that space is what that's feeling like, right? There's a reluctance here on their part, it's feeling like. Perhaps on your part as well, maybe, right? To actually get on the bike, which is the actual sort of practical application of all of the lessons that they've been teaching you is what that's feeling like. Because the next card to come out here is the Five of Swords, which I'm seeing as a very peaceful energy, right? But which is so interesting. I'm seeing this as being very peaceful. The message that came through in the guidebook, though, because this deck is so strange, right? That the cards don't necessarily intuitively tell you what the intention behind the card is trying to convey. Anyway, so when I read the guidebook, it was talking about like a sudden loss or just like having to make a lot of decisions. Like these ones have been separated from some sort of safety or stability, and now they're having to almost like fend for themselves almost. It's kind of how the card's coming through. Like that's the message of this card. So it kind of feels like for them, because I'm seeing this one as being a very generous teacher of some sort, and it's like I feel like there's a reluctance to actually get you on the bike because there's perhaps a fear here, especially here, of wanting to protect you from this energy, right? Of feeling like you're on your own or having to fend for yourself. But because it's coming through with the fishing imagery, it was coming through with that, like, I don't know, the what's the, like the story, there's a specific word for it, but I'm blanking on what that is, right? Okay, there's just like the story of like, if you give a man a fish, they'll eat for one day, but if you teach the man to fish, they'll eat forever, right? That kind of thing. It's not quite a parable, but I don't know what that word is. Anyways, doesn't matter. Getting held up on minor details here. So I feel like there's a reluctance here. It's like they've been giving you fish, right? They've been giving you lessons. Right? They've been sustaining you in some way, right? But they've been reluctant to actually teach you how to fish or to like put you on the bike, metaphorically, because there's an energy here of wanting to protect you from potential harm, perhaps, or protect you from whatever. Very well intentioned. It's not necessarily anything that's like they're trying to hold you back or anything like that. It's just feeling like they want to protect you from this energy. And potentially from that, like this, so this card came out next, the Dreamer of Pentacles, which is all of this protection energy. With the lock here, right? They're seeing, it's like, this is how their energy towards you is feeling, right? Like you at the center of this lock, wanting to protect you, especially because of like the crab drawing blood, right? There's kind of this energy of like not wanting you to get hurt in this process, which is absolutely well-intentioned, I'm going to say. I am repeating that over and over because there might be, Scorpio, this like, I want to say almost like a feeling of frustration here with the Sulfur, right? Like it's like feeling of frustration of why is this person not letting me get on the bike, for example, right? Like why are they holding me back, maybe, is what you're feeling. And it's because they have very good intentions is how it's wanting to be framed, right? I feel like perhaps what they're not seeing is that their energy of protection is actually feeling like a limitation on you, Scorpio, because it's almost like perhaps you're feeling like, well, why don't they believe in my abilities to succeed, is what that's feeling like, right? Why are they, like, because the way that it's coming through for me, it's like, if you're trying to protect somebody, overly protect somebody, you're keeping them from the actual experiences of learning, because the actual part of learning how to ride a bicycle is getting on the bicycle. There's no, and like trying it for yourself, of like maintaining that sort of the equilibrium, the balance. The skills that you are needing to learn, Scorpio, are the ones that are actually practically applying the knowledge that you have. And for now, you're being kept in this place of just the theoretical knowledge, right? In theory, this is how you would ride a bicycle, which means that you still don't know how to ride a bicycle, right? It's kind of like a different, you're needing to switch. That's what this Great Serpent is. Needing to switch, perhaps, from one type of knowledge into a different type of knowledge, right? And there's just like a building of pressure, perhaps. So again, I don't want to necessarily say that this one is keeping you from that. It doesn't feel necessarily like that. It just feels like perhaps you might also be feeling just like this energy of, so if it's not with another person, perhaps, Scorpio, there's some sort of fear on your end as well that is preventing you from taking the next step, because for whatever reason, right? Like perhaps the bicycle's sitting there and you're just not wanting to get on it, right? Perhaps this Master of Secrets is not actually doing anything to prevent you from moving forward. That's also a possibility. I'm just seeing it. I'm just because of this card, right? The Dreamer of Pentacles. It's kind of like there's an energy of protection around you, and it feels like it's coming from this one. Anyways, I feel like that is going to shift soon, though, because what you have here next is this Eight of Pentacles, which I really love, because it's kind of like this is the lightning. I feel like there's kind of like an initiation, perhaps, is what this is feeling like. Like it kind of comes through with the energy of Frankenstein's monster, right? Where they give, like, there's life, there's an experimentation process, perhaps, right? It's kind of like it may actually feel kind of like a sink or swim energy for you, Scorpio, but I feel like you absolutely are going to swim. There's absolutely going to be life for you in this new venture, and I feel like you are eager to get started on that, is what this is feeling like. And then the next three cards here, just to end off your reading, you have here the Lovers, which I really love, because this is talking about a successful partnership. I want to say that, but it could be like whatever the new thing is, right? So it could be that perhaps there's an energy here of like, I want to say perhaps like this partnership may be shifting a little bit as well. The Master of Secrets, because right now it feels kind of like they're in an energy of being a master while you're the student, right? That's sort of the dynamic it's coming through with. So it could be that there's going to be a shift in terms of being on equal terms now, because you can actually, there's a reciprocity and an equality in this energy where it isn't like that in the energy that we're starting off with, is what this is feeling like. So I feel like there is going to be a shift into this energy with the Lovers energy. And then here you have the Four of Wands and the Three of Wands, right? So this I'm seeing is almost like the graduation ceremony, is what that's feeling like, right? Like a graduation ceremony from the student into somebody who has a title, for example, or you've actually accomplished the thing. It may be in terms of this one, right? Because it kind of does feel like they are having to initiate you, is what that's feeling like. But then here with the Three of Wands, I feel like after that, it's like there's going to be some sort of, because I feel like this is necessary in order to face what this is. I'm not necessarily seeing this as a negative energy, but it is coming through with kind of like there's a challenge ahead for both of you, where it's like the both of you have to be on equal terms in order for this challenge to be met. Because right now it's like, and perhaps perhaps this one knows this, right? Perhaps this one knows on some level that up ahead, there's something perhaps imposing or difficult or challenging, and perhaps they're trying to keep you from this is kind of how that's feeling. There's some sort of challenge is what's coming through, which is interesting because that's not how I was seeing it before this reading, but that's the direction it's going in now. That after this ceremony, it's kind of like you have to face this, and I feel like perhaps this one here is trying to keep you from that. Perhaps, because it's unclear. There's a lot of uncertainty in that next step, I want to say. Okay, Scorpio, I'm gonna leave the reading there. Hopefully that was helpful. I'm gonna go to the extended. We're gonna talk about what else you may need to know about the situation. If you're interested, the link is in the description box below. I'm also doing a Aries season sale on my personal reading, so if you're interested in one of those, check the description box for more information. That's it from me. If this message resonated with you, please consider subscribing, liking, or leaving a comment. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.